Right, we are playing with our new Defender, and one thing we've talked a lot about is wheels and tyres. And I got a set of the 18-inch steel wheels. But before I go on, let's do what we're going to try and cover in this, because then I can check that. So we're going to talk about wheels, we're going to talk about the diameter of the wheels. We are going to talk about tyres, tyre choices, we're going to talk about rolling radius of the total thing. We're going to talk about wheel offset, and we are going to do quite a lot on nuts, and then we're going to talk about hubcaps. So, right then, wheels. So, I had these lovely lush 20-inch alloys on my car with some all-terrain tyres. And we went off-roading, and people have watched the videos, and I tried to do certain things, and they were really good. And I haven't damaged the alloys too much. But there's a couple of things. When you've got big alloys, you end up having a thinner wall section here, or a profile, I think they call it, don't they, Gary?
Mm-hmm.
Gary,
or sidewall.
Sidewall profile, because people talk about low profile tyres, and that's this bit here. Now, obviously, in many ways, when you're off-roading, you want maximum tyre, because a tyre you can bang and it squishes and everything, and you want your wheel, which is your nice aluminium alloy bit, as far away from when you're going up those concrete steps. And the other thing is, if you have more tyre, you can let your tyres down a bit, and then your tyre, as it rolls over things, will sort of conform and wrap itself round it. So if it was going up those steps, it would be able to sort of wrap itself round. So the plan is to get, and everyone was telling me, Simon, you need to get rid of those towny 20-inch wheels and get some 18-inch wheels. Now, that's all great. So we did get some 18-inch wheels. Now, Land Rover do an 18-inch steel wheel, which is this wheel here. But they only do it in white. But I managed to get these off a guy on eBay, and he's had them painted, powder coated black, and I thought they'd look really nice. So I've put these 18-inch wheels on. Now, apparently not all Defenders you can put the 18-inch wheels on. And we might whip this off actually. We've got the jack, we'll whip it off and we'll have a look. Let's do that now. So we'll stop recording, we'll take the wheel off, and we'll show you what you've got to watch. Right, so we've got the wheel off. So the problem is, depending on the model of your car, they have bigger brakes. Some models have bigger brakes. Now, we've got the 2-litre petrol. I think some models have bigger brakes. Now, the brake disc gets bigger, and this caliper sits out further, and you can't actually get clearance to get the 18-inch wheels on. So you need to check, first of all, which brakes you've got, because some of them are going to foul. There's also this bit here which juts out quite a bit as well. But whenever you're putting different wheels on, make sure they fit over it and they spin freely. The other problem you've got is, depending on your offset, and that's how much the wheel sits back, your tyres will rub on here. Now, I will measure now there is a calculation for offset, and I've done a video on offset, and I'll put that there. But actually, I was thinking the other day, rather than measure offset, it's easier just to measure the distance from this face to the tyre face. So I'll get a bit of wood, I'll put it across here, and we'll measure just from this face what's the maximum, and I think this is pretty much the maximum you can get. So yeah, if you put a bar across here, and then we go down to the plate that's going to touch the disc, if I take that off, you can see it's about 181 millimeters. And actually I've got the 20 inches, which I think are the closer, and I'll do the same on that. So I'll measure down to the mounting bolt there. Oh, let me check that again, I got a bit squiffy. There we go. So you're like 185. You don't want to go a lot closer than that, or you are going to be touching that thing. So there we go. So we've talked about offset. So before you put the wheels or buy some wheels, make sure they've got the right stud pattern. Now the stud pattern I'm going to is 5 by 120. I'm pretty sure. I'll put a correction up there. I'll check it before I put the video up. Which is the diameter of a circle. If you drew a circle all the way around here, what the diameter of that circle would be. And the 5 is obviously you've got 5. While I'm on techie geeky measurements, the wheel studs here, they're M14 and the pitch is 1.5 millimeters. So they're what you might see 14 by 1.5. So that's when you buy the wheel nuts. Right. Okay, so we've got that. We're going to put the wheel back on. We've got clearance all around. We're checking it's going. And then we're going to move on and we're going to talk about... Let's talk about rolling radius and tyres. So these two wheels and tyres, obviously we've got the 18 inch and we've got the 20 inch. But if we stand them up, well done Gary, and I put them next to each other, let's have a look. Actually, you'll notice if you come down that the actual rolling radius, the height is going to sit at is higher with the 18s than they are with my 20s. Now obviously that depends on your tyre profile. But there we go, you can see. So with this 18 inch, just because you've got 18 inch wheels, it depends on your tyre choice. So let's have a look what the profile of these tyres is. Here we go. So they're 255 70 18s. So I don't think you're going to get a lot bigger than that, or wider really. They're sitting quite wide on those rims, aren't they, Gary?
Yeah.
They sort of bulge out. They're not stretched. Yeah. Right. So we'll get that back on. So that's rolling radius. So I may have to go into the software of the car and change the tyre rolling radius, because my speedo is going to be reading incorrectly if it's just counting the revolutions of the gearbox, because one turn of this wheel is going to get you further than one turn of this wheel. So you may need to have a look at that. And I think there are some, I think we can look at that. I did see somewhere where I saw that, but I think it's in dealer level software. Right, we've done offset. So we've talked about wheels and why you'd want to change your wheels. I mean, you can go up to 22 inch. And a lot of the people who want to look more like a sort of street racer, gangster, limo thing, Gary's laughing, go for the bigger wheels. Tyres. Also, you've obviously got a choice between road tyres, off-road tyres, all-terrain tyres, and any tyre is a compromise. It's a compromise of grip in the dry, grip in the wet, road noise, economy, off-road grip, all these things. So cornering grip. So I'm not a tyre expert and everyone seems to have their own opinion, but basically you either need road tyres, winter tyres, all-terrain tyres or off-road tyres depending on your choice. Right, we've done rolling radius, we've talked about the offset. Nuts. Should we talk about nuts?
Might as well.
Might as well, come on. Right, so what you will notice on a wheel here, we need to get a wheel nut, and I will grab a genuine Land Rover wheel nut. This is the genuine, it's quite small. What do we need to talk about? Wheel nut. Obviously the spanner you have in your spare wheel toolkit is 22 millimeters. So you need to make sure you keep 22 millimeters ideally, and we'll have a look at that. And then the other thing is the taper. So this is this angle here. And I believe this is 60 degrees. And that's designed so it sits in the taper on the wheel itself, so that it centers the wheel and spreads the load evenly, and that is why we need a 60 degree taper. Right, these wheel nuts, I think I can say this, they're expensive. They're £10 each, I think, plus tax, so they're £12 each for a wheel nut, which seems kind of pricey. I'm sure they're superb quality wheel nuts, but right, so would you want to spend? So how many wheel nuts are we? Let's do some quick maths. So that'd be £200 for a set of wheel nuts for your car, that's some dollar, isn't it, Gary?
That's big. That's big money.
That's big money. Yeah. On Gary's salary, that's big money. Right, let's move on. Right, so I was thinking, could we get some wheel nuts for better value, but not compromise on quality? So I've done a little. Now I managed to find these wheel nuts on eBay. Now they're M14 by 1.5. They're 22 millimeters across. So I thought, well, that's good. We're all looking good so far. They're made by the same company, I believe, in Germany. This Febby, which seems to be the world leaders in wheel nuts. And if you look on the wheel nut packet, this is the genuine part number for those that are interested. And if you look somewhere on there, it says made in Germany. There you go.
If it focuses.
Oh, was it having it? Go away and I'll zoom in. There you go. So I was thinking, why they've got some anti-corrosive funky blue colour on, which is sort of alright. We could always paint them. And I was thinking, well, they'll do, won't they? And they've got the same, you can check the slope by putting them together. So I thought they'd do. And also, I was quite impressed because they had a greater height to them if I put the two side by side. So I thought, well, that will have more threads in contact. There you go, we can see that. Look. Okay, so these are a gem. £1.50 each. Happy days. I thought, there we go, we'll have those. But then I thought, wow, they're going to look a bit rubbish maybe. So maybe I'll need some black ones, right? So this is interesting. Now, these are dead end, so you can't see through those. Obviously, these ones you can see through. These ones you can't. So if you go for this type of, I guess they call them closed wheel nut, you need to be careful that as you put them on, that the stud doesn't bottom out in the end here somewhere, because you're not quite sure how deep the thread is. So I got Gary busy the other day and he's cut one open. So we'll have a look, we'll put the wheel on and we'll do that, and we're going to see if we can see the stud come up, and does it reach the end or is it short? Who knows? We'll have a look. But the only problem with these is these are 19mm across here, which doesn't means you'd have to take an extra spanner with you. But the other problem is the sidewall gets quite thin. If you look here where Gary's cut it, you haven't got much strength in this sidewall. So I think I'd be happier keeping the 22. But yet, as yet, I haven't managed to find some of these black wheel nuts closed end that are 22. But there you go. But again, I can check the taper. Did I do that already? No. And you can see they're the same. Okay? Because if the way of checking, if they were not the same, one would be out like that. But they're right. Okay. Just out of interest, this is the alloy wheel nut that I've removed off my alloys. And on this, when you centre it, it rests on this hub and this end. It doesn't actually do much. This gets you going. But actually, out of interest, look, it is the same taper. So in theory, you could use these wheel nuts to hold your steel wheels on, even if it was until you managed to get these real ones. Anyway, so there's the wheel nuts explained and the wheel nut options, and I was all happy with all that. But then my phone rang. Hold on. Right, so there we go. I've put all the different wheel nuts on the wheel. Now, so that's all great. You can choose whichever wheel nut, and you can see them all there. But then I noticed, I should have read up on this. Then I noticed, that's great, I can choose my wheel nut. But now I've got the middle of my hub showing. Now, there's no harm in having your hub showing, I guess. It's not gonna, but it doesn't look very nice. So then I went back online, and sure enough, Land Rover do a little hub cover, wheel nut cover. So I thought, so I've ordered this in, and I was looking at it, and then it all became clear. I had that road to Damascus moment where I realised what was happening. Now, so I was always puzzled by this wheel nut and the profile of it. I don't know what you can see, but you got the slope, then you got this little ridge, and then you've got a sort of step there. So I was thinking, why did they put this on? But now it's clear. What it does is the wheel nut's that way, and then you go to put this cover on, and it's got these little prongs here. Okay, and when it slides over the wheel nut, and it grips on that little ledge. It goes behind there, right, and it grips on that little ledge, and it's gripping on, it's holding on for dear life onto the wheel nut. So that's going, and so you need the wheel nut with this little ledge for it to sort of grip onto. So you really need to use, they kind of scuppered any plan of buying cheap wheel nuts, because Land Rover have made it so you need to use these. Now, it's even more confusing because I tried using those others, but where they're longer, they've put this little stop here. I've coloured them orange, and it's a physical stop. So the wheel nut's there, it goes in, it goes over the ledge, but then it's got a stop behind it, so it comes to a physical stop. So those blue wheel nuts won't work either. So I was a bit disappointed about that. So all that money, so there you go, Gary, you're going to have to spend a whole month's salary on wheel nuts, right? Now, if you look, so this one's got those little, that one's got those webs in, that one's got those webs in. Hold on a minute, this one's got no webs in. And then it occurred to me, that must be for your locking wheel nut. So your locking wheel nut hasn't got a length restriction. Now they've obviously done it with the Land Rover logo to be the one above the Land Rover logo. So if you're fitting this on your car and you have locking wheel nuts, when it goes over, make sure you get the Land Rover logo here, pointing the locking one. There's no other way of telling. So there you go, make sure you get that on the right way. Right, one more thing. So I'm thinking now, I overcomplicate things. I think I am going to go for cheap wheel nuts. I think I'm going to go for value wheel nuts. And I think I'm going to 3D print a cover that goes over here, goes over this lip, and allows me to take a genuine Land Rover wheel center. So if I just pop this wheel here, Gary, let me just grab that one. So on Land Rover wheels, they all have these. That's not a good example to use, is it? It's falling apart. But what I'll do is I'll make it take these, and these normally have a badge on. This is actually a genuine one, and the badge fell off. So that I can put that in the middle and have a little carrier that will hold that. And then I'll have my wheel nuts exposed, and I'll have that. So that's what we're thinking of doing. So there we go. So we're not going to fit our wheels just yet, or we will do, but they won't have hubcaps on. We can go ahead and fit them, can't we? We'll fit the blue wheel nuts, Gary. We'll get those on now, and then we'll have to set to work, give Julian a little project next week to design a little carrier so we can put that on and it will grip, because there's actually enough room here. If you look in here, Gary, we got a little groove we can get behind, so we can put a little finger on the 3D print and it'll grab in there. There's 3 of those, and it will clip in, and then we'll put the badge in and clip the badge in. That's the plan. That's where we are on wheels. Hopefully we've, explained Land Rover Defender wheel options. I'm not a wheel expert, but hopefully that's given you something to think about. Good luck with that. Right, one thing we didn't do there, I'll just show you now, is this wheel nut. So this is this cut out wheel nut where we cut away, because I wanted to see how much these threads go in here as to whether it would bottom out on the end of the wheel nut. Let me just spin this on, and hopefully we can see how much room we've got left. There we go, so you can see we've got plenty of room. I'll undo it one turn so you can see from above a little bit better. You can see there we've got plenty of threads left on that. So I've got no worries putting the blind wheel nuts on if I want. So I could even do that if I find blind wheel nuts with a 22mm. That might be an option. One other thing to consider when you're changing your wheels is the tyre pressure. If you've got tyre pressure monitoring, you will need to have valves with the tyre pressure monitoring system built in. So consider that as well. You might have to, if you want to have 2 sets of wheels, off-road and road wheels. So we've had to get, or the guy we bought these off had put the TPMS valves already in these. So yeah, wheel nuts, wheels, tyres, tyre pressure monitoring, hubcaps. It's more than just buying a set of 18-inch rims. So just make sure you think about all that before you're changing your wheels. Right, so Gary's put all the wheels on for me. See the wheels there. I haven't got it outside. It's dark outside now, and we're going to put it in the workshop next week. I'm going to try and start on the winch install next week. But there you go. There's a few little sneak previews on there of a couple of new accessories on there that we're developing, if you can spot them. And there you go. One of them's fairly obvious, the other less so. Right.